Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for coming to the High Energy Entrepreneur Radio Show on the iNETrepreneur Network. I'm Donna Guinois, your host, and I am so excited that you are here today. We have three incredible speakers lined up. So I'm just going to say real quick, grab a pen and paper and take some notes. You'll want it. Before I introduce them, a few things. One, be sure to subscribe to this channel. And two, this is really important. Bookmark all your networking activities at ntevents.net and like us on Facebook. That's it. You know, the iNETrepreneur Network is where entrepreneurs, business owners, influencers, and experts come together to talk about their challenges and their triumphs, their tragedies and their impact. Let's get behind their stories and learn from their perspiration and their inspiration. I'm joined here today by none other than Robert W. Jones, who is the owner and founder of Network Together. Robert will be my co-host periodically. Robert, it's Thursday again. I'm so excited.
I know. It's just like I keep waking up and we're doing it again week after week. I'm liking this habit we're starting to establish, Donna.
I know. It's awesome. It's awesome. Even if we can't be together, we're still together.
That's right. I mean, I'm social distancing from you in every way possible. But, the thing is, I'm still here with you in spirit and in screen.
Absolutely. And that's what's important. So, Robert, we have an incredible lineup of speakers today, and I am really, really excited about that. But before we go into the speakers and I introduce them, what are some of the new things that our members and guests alike need to know that's going on in Network Together?
Well, we've talked a little bit about the iNETrepreneur magazine, and the iNETrepreneur magazine has been such a success. We started out with an 8-page magazine that went out as a concept, kind of like a pilot for a show.
Right.
And then, and there was a demand for it. So our next issue came out and it was 32 pages. And there was even more demand for that. So, it's like, well, the audience says they want more. We're going to give them more. So then our last issue, which we just sent out to quite a few people, a few thousand people here, had Brandon Barnum on the cover. And it was a 40-page magazine. So now I'm excited to announce that we have our next issue, our May issue, coming out on the 25th. And on the cover is our very own Kimberly Miner. And she is just a real special gem. She has her own radio show. She has a women's event coming up in June. And she said, you know what, I'm going to grab that cover because I know what type of credibility and exposure it'll give me in my business.
Absolutely.
And she's really come a long way. But the iNETrepreneur magazine really is a great way for those people in the iNETrepreneur world, to get seen, have a contributor article that tells other people what they are, who they are and what they do. Also, we also have a mastermind, which happens actually before the radio show each and every week. And that's from 1 to 2 o'clock. And what we like is each week we do it kind of like a Blink mastermind. Last week it was talking about efficiency, effectiveness, and energy, and how all those can align. And if they all align, how much more throughput in your business that you'll get. You put energy out to the universe, it comes back, both parties are refreshed. This week we talked about something else, something that we, a lot of times I don't really hear. And we discussed what primary aim is. Businesses, a lot of business owners, they don't think about what is their primary aim. What are they trying to accomplish? What is it that resonates with them? What type of contribution are they trying to provide for others?
Right.
And a primary aim is, one of the first steps to think about, because then you can create attraction, you can create attention, and you can create, familiarity by putting out the right messaging that will keep people coming back to you. So that's pretty cool. So, so the mastermind's a wonderful thing.
It is. It is. I was on last week. I was not able to attend today. I was really upset about that, but plan on being there next week. So, just for the folks out there who aren't familiar with Network Together, we have so much more than just networking. We have our virtual meetings. We have the masterminds. We have the magazine, we have the radio show. We have so much, and we give back in many, many ways. Um, we give out to, we help our children, we help the community, who people who are in, what's the word I want? I've just lost it.
Well, I mean, and what you're doing is, for a lot of people who don't know Network Together, and this may be the first time that they come on to our show, is, we have 5 pillars, and the 4th and the 5th pillar is community outreach in service to our youth. A lot of people don't know that, in Network Together, we have a saying is that we want entrepreneurs to start at 14 years old, not 40 years old. And, we like to say about our community as well, another saying that we have is don't be apart from the community, be a part of the community.
Part of it.
Yep. And part of being part of the community is, what do we do when people look at us? What do they see? Do they see it contribute, a community that contributes to others, or do they see a community that just takes for their own needs? And that's one of the reasons why we have the pillars, is because, they can see that, yeah, we do have an intention to serve our youth. We do have an intention to serve our community. But for our professionals within the community, it's about public speaking. It's about personal and business development. And of course, it's about embracing networking or personal relationships. And that's where the networking portion of Network Together comes into it. But you're right. We are so much more than that. We are becoming a total comprehensive entrepreneurial outlet for exposure and credibility.
We really are. And, with that, I would like to take a quick moment, Robert, and say thank you to you and to Network Together, because the guests we have on today, I have the honor of knowing each of them personally, and they have brought so much value to my life personally. But I would not have had the opportunity to know them on a personal basis had it not been for Network Together. So my thank you for your incredible insight in starting Network Together and making this something that everybody can learn and earn from.
Well, thank you so much, and I appreciate you saying that. And I've been able to see, unfortunately, Bill Heinrich sent me a text, and he doesn't have the ability to stay on for the show today. So we will, we'll make some time to put him on the show maybe later, this season.
Absolutely.
But Daniel and Sony are incredible. I've seen both of them speak. I've been able to have private conversations through the phone and in person. And each one of them, they always give me really great nuggets. But, I have to say that Dr. Jackson has the best hair in the world. So people are going to get to see that here pretty soon. She is a rock star, and Daniel, if he picks up that microphone, you're going to see a world-class crooner in action, on today's show. So if you're tuning in right now, please stay, because both of them are going to create an indelible mark on your life. So absolutely. I am so excited for today's show, Donna.
Me too. Thank you, Robert. Well, ladies and gentlemen, today our first guest is Daniel Miller. I am super excited that he's here with us. Daniel, hi.
How are you doing, Donna?
I'm good. How are you? It's been a minute.
Well, if I was any better, I'd need a new prescription. That's for sure.
I love it.
Absolutely.
Well, listen, before I get into the nitty gritty of, talking to you and interviewing you,
yes.
I like to brag a little bit about my guests. So I know I get to. So I met Daniel. It's been about 2 years now.
It's been about 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah, about 2 years. So Daniel is the co-owner of SciDeck, Click and Grow Rich. He is an author, a motivational speaker, and I'm going to tell you honestly, guys, he is a marketing and technology guru. The man knows his stuff inside and out. There you go. There you go. So Daniel, before we get into our background, real quick, where were you actually brought up?
Where was I born, or where was I actually grew up? I'll say born. I was born in Red Wing, Minnesota. Okay. And I was actually adopted to a Christian family and farm in northern Wisconsin, on a little pig farm. And so I had humble, amazing upbringings in a very wonderful family. I have 2 older siblings that are amazing, and that started my work ethic. Was growing up. We didn't have a TV set until I was 13 years old, so it was always up at 5, feeding all the animals, and off to school or wherever I was on the bus ride for an hour, and then it was to it was hard work, but it was we didn't know what we didn't know, and so it made it that much better. So when I realized that it was easier to make money online, I jumped at it because even though we own a pig, I don't slaughter pigs anymore.
Yeah, that's hard work. It is definitely hard work growing up on a ranch. So, you actually studied, and if I recall right, got your master's degree here at ASU.
I did. I did my undergrad Wisconsin engineering. I did master's and part of my PhD at Arizona State as in the Del Webb School, as well as the engineering school. They're some of the best professors in the world are actually there out of Harvard, the Dr. Houston's, and they do amazing work there. So I had a full ride to the great ASU. I had my office right on Palm Walk there, and I got to tell you, I fell in love at least in and out of love at least 5 times a day by just walking around that campus. It was.
Yeah, I think most everybody, male, female, whatever, it doesn't matter. They're all in and out of love several times during during school. During school. So tell us a little bit, which did you start with? Did you start with being an author? Did you start with Click and Grow Rich? I'm pretty sure Psyduck came after Click and Grow Rich.
Well, actually, I started out in the workforce. I did all the studies. I did after I went to engineering school. I started working at a company called Bechtel Corporation, so the largest engineering construction company in the world. And I was decommissioning nuclear bases and building airfields all over the world. And I loved the job, but it was a grind, and I was making $60,000 a year with some bonuses. And then at the time, my first wife got accepted to Berkeley and Yale and UCLA to do her MBA. And I was like, okay, we were living in Ecuador at the time. And I said, what if I did an executive MBA? And at the same time, you're doing your full ride. And so I got it. So we actually ended up at Berkeley. And there, it opened up this amazing can of worms. I got into the tech space. And so I saw all these startups happening, but it was the worst time to be in startup because it was 2001, 2000, right as the dot-com bust was happening. And I waylaid, but I was at the company at Bechtel, and the CEO, Riley Bechtel at the time, comes into my office after being there 5 years, and I was running a Six Sigma division at that time. Which was having to do with the Bechtel finance and audit, as well as their techie division. It was a construction company that was buying all these .coms like Webvan and Pets.com and some other ones that were there. And they were all dying on the vine because they weren't thinking the correct way. So what we did is we created this 9-step process that worked in construction, but it's called market, people, product, places, personal payment, marketing, sales, staffing, social media. You can see it behind me right there. Now, that process allowed us to amplify the rates of return for every project that we're on. So I just kind of modified it for the internet space. And lo and behold, it worked fantastic. So I ended up leaving Bechtel and started up with a startup. And we started up with about 20 of us. And we were in the education space on the finance side. And so totally outside my realm of knowledge. But I understood how to build businesses. So it doesn't matter what it was. So following the exact same process, over the next 4.5 years, we grew from 20 employees to 760 employees. We went through 7 mergers and acquisitions, and we ended up ringing the bells on. We ended up going out to the pink sheets, rang the bell at NASDAQ, and ended up selling the company for $896 million, of which I was percentage owner of that. So I promptly retired after that and sold one of my homes in San Diego. And I moved to Florida, where all good people retire. That was it.
Well, I think there's a little more to the story than that.
Well, I started drinking a lot and spending a lot of time on my boat, and I was looking for my second wife. That was probably the majority of it. And all of a sudden, I stumbled into the internet heavily. And at an event in New York, I was spending some time. I met my current business partners, Brett and Tyson, and we started a company called Sidec. It was e-commerce platform and shopping carts. So if you ever heard of the companies like One Shopping Cart or Infusionsoft, we are Infusionsoft without the confusion. So we built that business, and we started building lots and lots of businesses on top of it. My previous Brett and his previous business had run 18 million through a business called Options University, and I had run about 110 million in sales through the sales process that I was doing. And so when we came together, it made a really great partnership. And then we have our operations partner, Tyson, who really, really rocks it out and makes sure that people stay on path. Pretty much consulting, making sure everybody stays and uses software the correct way. From that, we were able to have massive success from our own business, as well as a lot of other people that were coming on and using the tool. From that, we had a lot of our friends calling us and saying, hey, would you allow us to use that? Would you allow us to educate on top of this? And we said, well, why not us? And we created the program called Sidec, which is now actually in beta form as called Click Sales. So we will be launching that very, very quickly in order to make sure that we can get in and help people do it. And you see that that there's some really great things that we can do helping people on their businesses on the tech side, the automation side. But we also have an entire education with Click and Grow Rich here and CGR Global here. So CGR Global is our brand internationally. So this is the brand that we work with Robert Kiyosaki, Tony Robbins, and the likes of some very big names. This brand right here is our US-based Click and Grow Rich brand. They kind of overlap, but ultimately the education and the consulting that comes along with it helps you start today at nothing in your business, zero, an idea, and then bringing it over an Inc. 500 model, which means zero today and up to $2 to $3 million in revenue generation over the next 2 years. So it's a structured process: market, people, product, places, personal, payment, marketing, sales, staffing, social media. Boom. Now all of a sudden you have this nice hockey stick into profitability. But we've been able to condense that a lot in just this last couple of months. Amazing. I got to tell you, I would have not thought this in January when I started sounding the alarms of COVID, when it was actually called coronavirus COVID-19. They changed the name for some odd reason. I guess it was political. Anyways, so now I am a firm believer that COVID has been an amazing part of our businesses. We've seen 10 times growth in the majority of our businesses online. Than any other place that we've been. So it's been amazing. And a lot of people that have been speakers and stuff that have been speaking on stages with me that didn't have the automation and the online aspect to their business have been contacting me, and it's been fantastic.
Well, I think that the reality with the coronavirus, honestly, Daniel, is that for most of us, it was not. And I'm not going to say you per se, because I know you and I know how your brain has worked around the internet for so long. But for most of us out there, it's been a wake-up call.
Absolutely.
It has been a huge wake-up call. And, you know, I always say in the Scottsdale chapter of Network Together that I facilitate, hey, our bills don't stop, and neither should your business.
Absolutely.
Come on. Come network with us so we know your doors are open and we can do commerce, get to know you, do business together.
Well, amazingly, just today, the State Department came out with its numbers. You know, there's now 36 million people unemployed.
Yeah.
That is over. That is 1/3 of the entire working workforce that the United States essentially has out there. Now, you start thinking about that. That's a massive 4.2% hit to the GDP. But then there's companies like ours that we're exponentially growing. That's the reason why starting next week, actually, I will be speaking to 65,000 people that Robert Kiyosaki has brought to the table and taking them through the exact same methodology right here. And we're actually super excited because Robert's a close personal friend, and Donna, you are as well. And you've been along on some of these journeys that we've been on. I said, hey, I love Network Together, and I love the radio show, and I listened to it and seen you guys work. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm glad you guys invited me, but I want to open this up because we're going to have a webinar. When is it going to be? It's going to be Friday, May 8th at 1:30 So I want to invite anybody here. It's going to be a free informational webinar. I'm going to take you through this 9 steps and show you exactly how you can start making some money right away with some of the things you already know. And it does mean that you're going to have to retool. It does mean you're going to have to relearn. And it's unfortunate for some people, but it's been a boon for a lot of us. And I'm going to take you through the boon so you can get in there really quick, because you don't want this to ever happen again. Whether it's locusts in South Africa and ruining your businesses, and all through Africa and into the Middle East, where there's billions and billions and the food sources are going to get ravished completely, or if it's Brexit, when we're talking about what's happening there, where there's just kind of a jumble up of the EU, or if it's just a coronavirus or a pandemic of some sort, where you actually have to turn around and wear your mask all the time. You know, this is an N99 mask. Ran out of these. I have an order for 1 million of these right now. I sold 50,000 of them online within the first couple of weeks of COVID and Donald Trump shutting down the U.S. economy. Now we're building these masks in Denmark, and so we're getting some amazing things that are happening globally that now are allowing us to maximize and make some money from it.
Awesome. So this free event that Daniel's talking about, I have had the privilege and honor of attending a 2-day jam-packed information with him. And the information he gives you will really, really open your eyes as to what's out there. And I think the one thing, and I'm sure you're going to agree with me on this, Daniel, the one thing that most of us have learned who have one income, anyone out there who's just struggling, that you need multiple avenues of income to survive, period.
I mean, just think of if you've ever heard of this guy right here. So T. Harv Eker, when he came out, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, and I love this book, but I met T. Harv when he was Harv Eker. So at the very beginning of his journey, the second class he ever did, 4 years before he ever did this book, he talked about, of course, multiple streams of income, because he was at the time very close friends with Robert Kiyosaki in your Biltmore area, is where Robert sits and has a lot of fun. So I'm out there in Phoenix a lot, which is great. But that led to the ability for him to be able to sell his business because of multiple streams of income for about $47 million. So so this is our book. This right here is Click and Grow Rich. It's co-authored between Brett and I, and of course our entire team, just to give props out to everybody, which has been doing some great stuff. It's got the foreword by Kevin Harrington from the Shark Tank. And you can get this book at Click and Grow Rich /free book. And what's going to happen is, so if you want to get a jump start before our Friday, May 8th webinar, go out and get that. And for just shipping and handling, we'll send it to you. And then at the as we go through the webinar, we'll be doing some really great things. But this, I tell you, 18 years of hard blood, sweat, and tears of not just between Brett and me, but 18 years each, and Tyson, probably over 50 years worth of knowledge in the internet, has really taken us to an international bestseller. And Morgan James picked us up, which is amazing. We're the first internet book that they picked up in ever, and launching us. We already have enough sales that will launch New York Best Time Seller in the middle of this year. So we're very excited on it. And you'll start seeing it in the airports and stuff like that pretty soon. It's already you can already pre-order it on Amazon if you want to go there. But it's if you go free book, you'll get the extra.
Absolutely. So one of the things I like to ask all my guests.
Yes. No. Yes. Yes. No.
In my business as a high energy coach, I am a real firm believer, Daniel, in ROE, return on energy.
Good.
Because we need to refill ourselves and get away from what we do, so that when we come back, we can come back with a fresher point of view and a little more energy. What do you do as an entrepreneur when you're not working?
You know what? I like to drink. I own a cigar manufacturing company on the side. So my two favorite things are, of course, smoking cigars and having some scotch. I also, of course, I decided when I retired, I wanted to be around the things that I really love to do. And one of those, of course, is I love boating. And so I've got a boat on my 110-foot dock out the back, so I can be in the Gulf or I can be anywhere in short order. I think what you want to do is, if you're living in a crap hole, you got to change it. If you want to change your life, you got to do some things. And I've also realized, let me scoot over here real quick, that I personally only like to get into premium brands. So instead of selling a $10 person, $10 something to somebody, I want to sell a lot more expensive something to somebody. So this right here, actually, in our cigar company, we're one of the last 5 traditional families out of Cuba. This is actually a tube that I get from Gulfstream Jets. Every month, I get 100 of these, and I fill it with a $110 to $150 cigar. I put it in here, and when you buy a brand new Gulfstream Jet, you get 10 of my cigars on the seats in the jet. Now, we supply cigars to the Oscars, the Emmys, the NFL, the PGA, but this is just one internet business that we have.
And this is exactly what Daniel has been talking about, and this is why that all his programs, and he's got a free one coming up. Why would you not take time out of your day and learn from somebody who has created amazing, amazing companies and done amazing things to help the world over? Daniel, we are just about out of time. I am so excited. Thank you so very much for coming on as our guest today.
Absolutely. And I'll stick around for any questions later. So I can't wait to see the doctor. I've heard a lot about her, and I want to see her hair, which is the best part. So.
Thanks, Daniel. Was that amazing or what? So definitely, get on that free seminar that he has and learn and generate a different revenue stream for yourself and your family. Okay, my next guest, I am so excited, is Dr. Sony Jackson, and she is amazing. Yay! Hi, Sony.
Yay! How are you?
I am awesome.
You are so beautiful.
Awesome.
I love it.
I am so excited that you took time out of your busy schedule to be with us today.
You have the Florida contingent. Sounds like he's on the West Coast and I'm on the East Coast.
I know. I love it. Well, before I get into the actual, interview and learn more about you, so I want to take a few moments and brag about you. I love to be able to brag about my guests. First of all, Dr. Sony is has the most giving heart. Okay. Sony is awesome. She will drop and help you with anything she can at that moment. She is the owner of a marketing, a strategist, and word crafter. And she has done amazing word crafting for me. I love that. She is a compelling copy craftsman as well. And she is very active, half marathon runner, and has a second degree black belt. So woohoo, go Sony.
I used to do those things.
Yeah. That's just some of the things. So I know you are in Florida, and did you originally grow up in Florida?
Not really. Not really, and yes. My dad was in the military, so he was a full colonel for most of my life, and he retired when I was 15, and he retired to Florida. He was only 50, and so he still had to work because he had a kid in high school. And so that's when we moved to Florida, and he worked at a community college that was right down the street from our house. So that was the first year we lived there. I water skied on Christmas and been in the water ever since.
Nice. Yeah, I get a little freaked out about sharks.
Well, at the time I lived in Winter Haven, which is smack in the middle of the state. You may have heard of Legoland. It used to be the beautiful Cypress Gardens when I was in high school. So we have 100 lakes, and they have gators, not sharks.
Okay, just as dangerous. Thank you very much.
Nah, they're fine.
Yeah, I'll take my pool where there's no anything.
Oh, well, sometimes the gators like to get in the pools.
Yeah, well, it's getting warm enough here now. I can. That is awesome. So let's go back a little bit.
Okay.
I know that you have an incredible education behind you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just curious. Did you start out in your early adulthood, Sony, wanting to be an entrepreneur, or did you like all of us maybe go back and forth or work for corporate America and decide, corporate America kind of sucks sometimes?
No, actually, I was a bureaucrat. I grew up, my dad worked for the Army and then he worked for a college. And so I jumped right in and started working at a college after college. And I worked there for many years. And what happened was I got married to an entrepreneur who was born an entrepreneur. He never worked for anybody else in his life.
Oh, wow.
And there was a point at which I had finished my doctorate and I was kind of looking around for jobs, and we had settled in Winter Haven, and he loved Winter Haven so much. And he's like, okay, so what if I hire you? We had a new president as well. And I don't know, politics, it's kind of like any company. When you get a new leader, people who work directly for that leader tend to move.
Right.
Because you're kind of enculturated with the previous one. And I have to say, the president I worked for was amazing. She was the first woman community college president in Arizona, and then she moved to Florida and became the first woman community college president in Florida.
Wow.
And so she was my mentor. I knew her from the time I was 15. And so we worked really closely together. I was a strategic planner and grants writer, and everything I did, she kind of did what a mentor is supposed to do, is create opportunities. And so she created the opportunity for me to work flex time so that I could get my doctorate in education. So I worked there, and then so I'm casting around looking for, back to the point,
Right.
looking for a job. And my husband said, well, what if you come run my company? So I talked to Dr. Peck about it, and she said, you know what? I got my doctorate when I was 30. And there are no community college presidents under 40, 45. She said, if you step out and work in the community and get well known and do all those things that you're supposed to do in building a business and building community giving and all of that, then you'll be perfectly positioned to come back as a community college president. So I stepped out, and quite frankly, the first year when we did our taxes, we paid as much in taxes as she earned as the president. The next year, we got a new accountant. So that kind of went, oh, well, let's see. And luckily, I was working with another marketing. He's a marketer. He's an amazing marketing genius, really. He really is. And he's the guy who invented the squeeze page, if you know, like the long sales letter. So kind of have a little background in marketing. Right. And so we just kind of took it and went from there. And I kind of played with him for a bit.
That is awesome. So which of your entrepreneurial businesses did you go into first?
My entrepreneurial business, I joined his company. It was called New Information. And that was my point. It's actually, no, it's kind of funny because I have a master's in business and a doctorate in education. It married the two, because what we were doing initially, we were doing a lot of real estate marketing with realtors and mortgage brokers. That was our field. That was our niche. Everything real estate related we had great programs, getting listings, finding buyers, and getting referrals. I mean, does that not sound like what a realtor might need? Right. And in that, we started training our clients. So not only did we provide the done-for-you solution, we also took it out a level and started teaching how to do this yourself. And so we got in the information marketing very early on. This is before Google had a pay-per-click, before Bing existed. We had Yahoo search engines, and there was a company called GoTo.com. So, that was before 1998, I think, is when we started that business. So we did a lot on the internet right away. So there's a long history there.
Exciting. So, one of the other things that I know that you do is you are one of the executive trainers for Speakers Pathway Coalition.
Mhm.
And I mention this because, and I've met all of them, most all of them, and it's an incredible organization, and they're actually a part of Network Together as well. But it marries what you do, and you love helping people find their words. And I'm a firm believer, you know, so many people, they get stuck in their own head, right? We all do. And I don't care if you're an expert in your field and you've been doing it for years. When you go to promote yourself, we get stuck in our head.
Yeah.
And that's why you hire somebody, a coach, whatever coach that is, right? That's why you need, you know, a word coach, maybe a media, you know, push it out there, media coach, to help you with your book. What I do, high energy performance coaching. You know what? We get stuck in our energy. So everybody needs a coach at some point. So I love what you do. So give a little example of how you marry your word passion, because you are absolutely phenomenal with that. How you marry that with, you know, your education, because the way you explain it, like you did to me when we went to lunch, it was a game changer, and it was an eye opener.
Well, that's interesting. I really try to marry both sides of my brain. You know, I think logically, but I think my real gift is in listening, to understand, not to respond. And I'm listening to the words you're giving me, and I'm also listening behind that, kind of empathically, if you go into the woo-woo.
Right,
but
right.
Empathically, you know, I can feel your energy, and I can see how important this is to you, and kind of learn from you when I'm listening and I'm asking the questions to kind of get to the meat of it. And then what I do is I take all that information you've given me and I put myself in the body of your ideal client. And so what I really try and do is get at, what is it if I were her ideal client? What is calling to me? Where is my pain? Where are the emotions anchored? Because for me, it's all about relationship and the emotions. You're not going to sell anything without an emotional attachment.
Correct.
Right? And you're also not going to sell anything very much, not very expensive for sure, without a relationship.
Right.
And for me, my friends call me the connector. And it's like, you know, we were doing this virtual event with Speakers Pathway, and Dawn said, okay, find me speakers. So I went out to everybody I knew, and I'm like, oh, I got woo-woo people. I've got, that's you. And I've got business people. I have all kinds of people who give hope, who give inspiration, and who can give support in this time, which is what they were looking for. So I said, okay, who's out there, and let me put myself in their shoes and see what it is that they need to make what you offer appealing.
Right.
Because you are solving a problem. Every one of us is trying to solve somebody's problem.
Absolutely.
So,
and it doesn't matter what we do. If you sell shoes, or you're selling a roof, or, you know, selling trees for a front yard, it is still an emotional based, anything to do with selling is an emotional based thing, period.
Yeah. And it's all about our identity too.
Yes.
Do I see myself as? It's funny you mentioned shoes. I put something on Facebook the other day. It was, you know, comes up in my feed, whatever shoes company it is. And it had these gold lame shoes. And the woman is obviously on a table. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm 53 years old. Do I really look like the kind of woman who's going to buy those shoes, especially when you're demonstrating them on the table?
Right.
And one of my friends commented, well, Sony Jackson wouldn't, but Sony Peters, that's my maiden name, would have. I gave me a college.
I love it. You know, hey, if it hits them emotionally, right?
Right? I was like, so I couldn't identify with those shoes. I just thought, that's ridiculous. But then I see something else, you know, the flip-flops, because I live here in Florida. I'm like, I'm all over the flip-flops.
Right? Yeah, Arizona, flip-flops, sandals. Yeah, I'm down for that.
Right.
way too hot to wear shoes.
Right.
So what are some of, I would love for you to give the people listening, our audience, Sony, just a couple quick tips that they can help themselves with, I guess, bullet points, if you will, on how to look at what they do, and so that they can express it better.
The number one thing is put yourself in figure out who your ideal client is. Yes, pretty much every one of us does something that could serve everybody. I could serve any entrepreneur, any, marketer out, anybody who has a business out there. And quite often people come to me and I'm like, you know what? My niche really is coaches, because I know and I understand the coaching business. And I understand the education business too. And so those kind of marry really well. So I kind of hone down that and I say, okay, what do my coaches really need to understand? And so that's what your first thing is really understand who you want to serve first. Like, you can serve multiple people. Absolutely. Especially like energy workers, they can help everybody. But the fact is, you need to choose one at a time, because you have to speak to that one person at a time. So all of your marketing goes towards that one avatar, and then you rinse and repeat. So develop your funnel, if you will, develop your system for, I call it the customer experience timeline, for your customer's experience all the way in. So, how are you introduced to them? What are your lead generation, if you will? Where are you putting it out there? Because where are they hanging out? Millennials hang out in different places than baby boomers or Gen Xers, and their priorities are different. So you need to find them, figure out who they are, find them, then craft a message that meets their needs, pulls at their heartstrings, and make it easy for them to say yes. Like, you've got their dream come true experience. If I could dream, my ex-husband used to say, I wish when we owned our own home, he was not very handy. Luckily, he made good money, so we could hire. But he said, wouldn't it be great if there was a service called Call the Landlord? I could just go on callthelandlord.com and find my landlord, if you will, to go fix the air conditioner or go fix the hot water heater. I'm sure there are people out there that do that kind of thing, but it was just like, wouldn't that be great to call the landlord? So it's kind of targeting those people, being sure that you have your message congruent all the way through. So if you're, giving me an energy session, don't jump over into, okay, start your Reiki now. Well, you've never talked about Reiki before. You talked about, you've only ever talked about energy. You can't, everything has to be congruent. So, from your ad, talk about energy. Well, then your free offer has to talk about energy. And then that landing page has to talk, the website you drive them to has to talk about energy. And then that first email they get has to talk about energy. At some point there, you can say, hey, one of the tools I use is a process called Reiki. But if you're talking energy, then it's very congruent. So that's kind of the way I think about things.
I love that. So we have about a minute left, and one of the things I like to do is I like to ask each of my guests, as a high energy performance coach, I'm a really big believer, obviously, on energy and return of energy, ROE. I believe everybody needs time to recharge. What do you do to recharge?
I do two different things. I have my in the middle of the day thing is I will run out. Luckily, I do live in the sunny place. I will run out and put my feet on the grass, and look, we have a little pond behind my condo. And I'll just put my bare feet on the grass and look at the sun and breathe for about a minute. And then I'll run back in, and so I do that daily. What I do on my days off off. You're never off when you're an entrepreneur, are you?
Right.
If I have my friends, it has something to do with water, whether it's swimming, surfing, not real surfing, like body surfing, because I can't real surf. Kayaking, I'm very passionate about kayaking. If I could live under the water, I would. Going to college in Florida, you get to take scuba instead of PE.
Yes! There you go. Lucky you. Lucky you. I've always wanted to learn to scuba.
Water re-energizes me.
Yes.
And so I tend to start out my day walking on the beach, and then I'll be in the water at some point in time. If I haven't, then you know something's wrong.
Right. It's just whatever resonates with each person to get grounded.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm water and dirt, if you will. I'm always barefoot at home.
Yeah.
Always. I don't want to wear shoes. I want to be grounded with earth. Yeah. So I love it. Well, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Thank you, for taking time out of your day and giving our audience those really golden nuggets that I know is going to help them.
I hope so. Thank you. Thank you for having us.
I love it. Well, that was an incredible interview with Dr. Sony Jackson. Robert, can you believe Daniel and Sony together?
Well, what I can't believe is that we were able to have them both on, one show. I'm glad we didn't have 3 speakers. No offense to Bill, but man, it was so informative, the both of them. And to actually see, that they're both in the same space, with messaging and internet marketing and technology and, identifying, what clients are looking for and being able to fulfill that. I mean,
identifying a niche.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And explode that niche. I mean, and now Daniel's coming along, he trained us probably a year and a half ago. And he's like, look, if your business isn't making money online, for some of you, you're going to be out of business. So, get your networking silo going now. And here we are a year and a half later. And those who haven't jumped on, I bet they're jumping on now, and he's 10Xing it. And then we have Dr. Sony, and she's talking about the thing that really matters to me, so much. It's to me, she's like talking about, creating like that ideal avatar of what does that client look like, because it's so much easier to talk to the client, in the language that they use if they, what they look like. And I thought that was very astute by her to really, bring that to us, because sometimes we get so busy in creating and pushing the product out, we actually forget what is the impact of the product or the service that we're pushing
exactly out. And I loved what she said about whether it's the baby boomers like you and I, Robert, or if
speak for yourself.
Or if it's the Gen X or whoever it is. But there is something in that you have to talk a little differently to one level versus the other level. You have to be able to talk a little more in their language, their love language, if you will.
And what's, I guess, an opportunity in the way, and I never want to diminish what's going on with COVID, but
no.
With the pivot, with the change, it's created a certain amount of technology, desire, need, and want in all of us, no matter what age. Before then, if you didn't think you were going to be on a Zoom call, let me tell you, after this, you're probably on a Zoom call, if not 2 or 3 or 4 per day. If you didn't think about trying to create products that could also go online, you're probably saying, what, I better start thinking about, products to go online. And lastly, and this is something that I learned from Daniel. He's like, look, if you're not thinking, about the global marketplace, you may be a company that may not survive in the local marketplace, because he truly has trained us that we have the ability to not just think global, but to truly go global. And I think we had a tremendous guest today, Donna.
Oh, I know we did. I mean, that's why I said in the beginning of the show, get your pen and paper because you're going to want to write down some of this. This is valuable stuff, guys.
And,
valuable stuff.
And at the end here, I mean, we'll talk to, Dr. Jackson later about doing other events as well. But, I put it back up there. It's just a reminder alert about, Daniel Miller is going to be hosting an introductory 1 hour, get to know him, get to know how he can help. I mean, save yourself, save your business, save your family, grab your cats and dogs,
learn.
Webinar on Friday, May 8th at 1:30 p.m. We'll put it on the calendar. We'll social media it.
We
looks
will.
like it's coming. But, go back to ntevents.net, ntevents.net, and we'll have this wonderful webinar with Daniel in it.
And guys, honestly, Robert, don't be afraid to learn something new, right?
Absolutely. I mean, if you're not learning something new, then what are you filling that space with? Yep. It's all about learning something new. It's all about pushing and driving yourself. Because if you're not, I think, someone said it, they were talking about, it's like saving others. I mean, act as if you're in the business of saving as many people that you can.
And you'll save yourself along the way.
Absolutely. Thanks, Donna.
Thank you. Everybody, that was an incredible show with Daniel Miller and Dr. Sony Jackson. And I hope you got as much out of it as I did. They, reach out. If you're unsure of where you need to be, reach out to them. They'll shoot you straight and they will see if you guys are a good fit. But I guarantee you won't be sorry. Join us next week, same time, same place. We are so excited that you could be here today. And I know that you could have chose to be anywhere, but you chose to be here on this incredible radio show. We're looking forward to seeing you next week. Bye, everybody. Stay safe.